I believe about 2 hours, maybe 1 hour, 1.5 hours after the close. Obviously, I am not on my computer. I made great progress towards getting it working, but still have a couple of challenges. So we're going to give it a shot on the phone and see how it goes. So let's take a look at the S&P 500 and see how we did today. So as we can see over here, we had a huge up day. We had a gap up and we continued upwards. So we were saying yesterday that we were likely going to move up towards that MA 150, maybe the MA 50, but by the time we hit that MA 150, that MA 50 may have come down. The market was much stronger, so it in a single day popped up above that EMA 20, went to the MA 150 and beyond, and now we're about a little less than halfway between the MA 150 and the MA 50 here. So the market was super strong. We liked earnings. We were having positive reaction to the FOMC not raising rates, a little bit of risk on, believing that the FOMC will not raise rates in December, although they left the door open for the possibility of raising rates. The market just isn't having any of it. It's not believing it right now. S&P 500 is very strong, so at this point it's looking pretty good. Very likely that we will hit that MA 50 there. And we have some horizontal support or resistance right here, right around that MA 150. As you can see, we have that price action along in this area. And even over here, let's see, way back here, we have some price action right here. So we have a resistance right here. So chances are pretty good we're going to hit that MA 50. If markets are very strong, we'll hit it tomorrow. If not, then we'll hit it next week. So in any case, we're going to expect this rally to continue at least a little bit more and have a little bit more movement right there. Let's take a quick look at the QQQ. QQQ also very strong, gapping up above the EMA 20 right into that MA 50. So we're kind of at a critical point for tech. We'll take a look a little bit later on how movement into growth stocks, into tech stocks has gone, to give us an idea of whether or not we should believe that we would bounce down from here, if we can break above it, or if we would consolidate, or if it's really too hard to tell and we should just wait and see. Now, in reality, we always wait and see, but sometimes we position ourselves first, depending on our conviction and depending on the probabilities. So even though we always adopt a wait and see attitude, we do sometimes need to be able to position ourselves ahead of events. We do need to be able to make an opinion. The number one trait that we look for in institutional traders is the ability to make a decision. So one of my first mentors told me that if you wait, you can always have more information. You'll always be able to make a better decision with more information later on. But you don't have later on, you only have now. So you make the best decision that you can given the information you have right now. And if it turns out that you lose a little money, you lose a little money. If you make money, you make money. Great. You made the absolute best decision that you could at the time when you needed to make the decision. You cannot always delay your decision. So you have to have a viewpoint. If you don't have a viewpoint, you are dead institutionally. You will never make it as a trader. No one will ever hire you. You'll lose your job if you already had your job. So you need to be able to have a viewpoint and trade your viewpoint, but you need to trade it safely. You need to have the proper risk management so that you can still make money even when you're wrong. And on net, even if you're wrong half the time, or sometimes in some cases, people are wrong 60-70% of the time, they're still millionaire traders. So that's what we want to do here. We want to take our viewpoint, trade our viewpoint, be sure that we are cognizant that we can be wrong, and even in being wrong, we can, at least on net over time, by the end of the year, still make a whole bunch of money. That's the art and that's the skill right here. It's not be afraid, wait and see all the time. Otherwise, you'll never get anywhere. So right here, what we're trying to do during this session is determine what our viewpoint is. So when it comes to QQQ, do we think it's going to go up, go down, go sideways? And then position ourselves depending on how strong our conviction is. and then prepare ourselves in case we're wrong. So we're going to need to decide in a few moments here what we believe the QQQ is going to do, and that will help us decide what the S&P 500 is going to do. Let's go ahead and take a look at the diamonds, Dow Jones Industrials. Also very strong, gapped up into the MA200, went beyond the MA200 and stopped at that MA50. So everything that we're seeing so far is that we're at a decision point. The markets are going to make a decision now whether it's going to break down or if it's going to pop up. And depending on how strong the market is, it will determine on which direction that we go. So across the board, we're going to see a decision point coming up pretty soon here. We'll check our IWM. Okay, IWM's catching a bid as well. A stronger move than we expected, than what we thought earlier. And here we gapped up to the EMA 20 and then surpassed it. So that's a good strong movement right there. That could be a bottoming movement. So the only challenge so far in all of these markets and indices that we've taken a look at is that we are potentially, it's starting to look like we're going into parabolic movement upwards. That doesn't mean that immediately we're going to die off, but it does mean that we don't expect this to last for a long time, maybe a few more sessions at most, and then we should at least see a consolidation, if not a pullback. So as of right now, we're going to be optimistic that maybe we can hit that MA50 in the growth stocks. We're going to have to take a look at a few other things, and especially sectors, in order to make that determination. And then in the QQQ and the Dow Jones, are we going to break above that MA50 in the QQQ? Or are we going to break above the MA50 on the Dow Jones? And then are we going to be able to reach the MA50? Well, we're pretty confident we're going to reach the MA50, but when we reach the MA50, will we pause or will we break above it in the S&P 500? So first let's take a look at VIX. VIX came further down. Now we're at the 15.65 level, which is more normal levels that we saw back in August. And of course, the average that we've seen for most of the year is about 13 to 14. So if we can get to the 13-14 region, that's going to be very positive for stocks. Then we'll likely have already broken out of those MA50 ranges. In the meantime, we can expect this perhaps to move down a little bit more, but it's looking like this could be nearing the end of that move, in which case we may just reach our moving average on the S&P 500 and then consolidate or pull back. And then for QQQ, IWM, and the Dow Jones, we expect at least to reach our we're currently at our levels, so perhaps a little bit more biased towards the consolidation viewpoint at this point. CPC, let's take a look, see how we're doing on our put to call ratio. And we are at 0.94, so anything between 0.7 and 1.1, it's not really helping us. It's not really indicating anything to us. So basically neutral. There's no signal, no ability to draw any sort of conclusion from the CPC number. I'm going to take a quick look at bonds. Bonds, a nice gap up, movement upwards, so positive news that the Fed is not increasing rates. And bonds caught a bid right here, right through that EMA 20. And the good thing here, though, is that where we kept bouncing off of this MA 8 or EMA 20, now we've broken that pattern. And so what we want to see is if we can get to that MA 50, because if we do, that means that we've now made a higher high. The new high would be above the previous high. Right now, we're still a little bit away from that previous high. So we haven't moved direction yet. We haven't changed that short-term trend yet. Or medium-term trend, I should say. So we haven't changed that medium-term trend yet. So until we see that change, we're not going to be super enthusiastic that we've hit a bottom in the TLT. But for now, it's looking like we could be on that path. I'm also going to look very quickly at the dollar. I want to see how strong the dollar is right now. Dollar has just been consolidating sideways ever since October, beginning of October here. just chopping sideways right here. So no real indication of the dollar, and it's not. We're not catching any bids from the conflict in the East. We're not seeing increased interest in the U.S. dollar from. Well, we're not increasing rates, so we wouldn't see increased interest because of that. So dollar is just moving sideways along right here. So now we want to see money movement. Obviously, money is going into the markets. It's getting bid up. So which sectors? Are they the growth sectors? Are they the defensive sectors? Are they somewhere in between? Are they hedges? What are they? So we're going to go over to our stock fetcher over here and go to our sector scan. If I can, there we go, sector scan. And go to our table. And I want to see the change today. So a lot of money moved into bonds. So that's a little bit of flight to safety, or a bit on interest rates. And the fact that we're getting XLRE up here again, that is a little bit more on the interest rate side. Utilities are still kind of in the middle here. We've got money moving out of gold, out of silver, out of staples, so out of safety, but also out of, actually it's not out of there. It's into all of these things. It's just that it's not as high. You see this is 1.3% next to XLP, 1.32 next to XLC. So what we're seeing is that money is moving into the market. Money is kind of neutral on gold and silver. Money is moving out of cash, out of other assets, out of other markets, into the stock market across every single sector. And so this is really broad-based. This is really, really good. It's just that consumer staples and communications did not get quite as much attention as these other sectors. Overall, that's really positive news that we're getting broad-based interest. It's a little weird that our sectors are still scattered. So we're not done here, and we're not done aligning here. And our heaviest movers are in retail, real estate, energies, IWM, okay, so small caps, consumer discretionary. So overall, a little bit riskier assets. So it's looking like the market is getting more comfortable with riskier assets. If I look on a 1 week basis, we've got TMF, XHB, XLY, SMH, XLK, Tech, XLC. So again, riskier growth assets. Looks like we are getting more optimistic. We may be getting that Santa Claus rally. We may be getting optimism into the end of the year, this being a midterm or a election year, the year before an election year. So it's looking like we are really catching bid into the market right here in the early stages, I should say, early stages. So that's giving us a little bit more optimism, and that's going to form the viewpoint that we can actually move higher in this QQQ and break above the MA50 and then move a little bit higher, at least maybe challenge these highs right here. So I would say that we would be optimistic of moving above that MA150, but not super strongly optimistic, because we do have a relatively close resistance above it, and this has gone parabolic. We've gapped up, and so we could fill the gap right here, but given the movement of money into the riskier sectors, this is looking good and it's looking positive. So I would be comfortable hanging on to tech and retail, or consumer discretionary, I should say. So let's take a look at our option strat and see what's going on over there. Okay, and we've got our Meta call. This AMR was a mistake. Baidu and Meta are paired together. And so Baidu is down 18% because we went short Baidu and it caught a bid. And then Meta is also down, so it must have been down today. Let's see what's going on with Meta. Okay, so we ended slightly down. It was higher, but we slightly down. But you see how it pulled down to the EMA 20, but we closed above the EMA 20. So this is still very positive news for Meta. It's just that our timing wasn't perfect. So this is still looking very, very good for Meta. We're still very comfortable with our long in Meta. And then Baidu, a Baidu short. Let's take a look at that. Baidu short, a little bit of a gap up into that EMA 8, pausing there, and we're getting a doji candle right there. And so this is actually still not looking that great for Baidu. So would I put the exact same trade on today? The answer is yes. So I'm very comfortable hanging on to this, even though the overnight or the one-day hold action was that both sides lost money. Both went in the opposite direction of what we expected. Our overall viewpoint of where they're going to move has not changed, and we have all the way until December on these options here. So we're just going to hang on to them. Everything's looking great. Even we're not going to make money every single day that we hold a position, but overall, when we hold a position on net, most of the time we're going to make money. So we're going to hang on to both of these and continue to expect that they'll move in the direction that we indicated. So gold is doing very well. We were down a little bit a couple days ago, but now we're positive. And again, this one is a trade where we make money as long as we stay above that. I believe it was 179, about 178.88, and we are far from that point. So as long as we hold up in this region for another 2 weeks here, we're going to be golden. This is going to be a beautiful trade for us. And then over here in XLE, we are now up 28%. The XLE looks like did bounce as we expected, and it's looking very, very good. So let's see, should we close this position? Have we gotten the profit that we wanted out of it? Or do we want to hedge it? Do we want to lock in some profits? Or do we just want to close it? So let's take a quick look at XLE over here. XLE, huge bar up into that EMA 20. And so just pause right there. A nice, looks like we're forming a W. So normally what we would do here is we would take a partial profit because there's still potential for it to move up and hit that MA 50 and then move up and meet that resistance. So that will be our target right there, forming a W. That would be my longer term target. My next target would be the MA 50, and then we've already hit the EMA 20 target. So I would normally be taking a third off right now, and then a third off at the MA 50, and then the full position off at the level at this about $92 level. So since we only have one, I believe, let's see how many we did here. I'm pretty sure we only did one. Yes, we only did one. So the conservative thing to do is either hedge or lock in some profits, or to simply close it out and just take profits, since we didn't leg into this, or we didn't provide a way for us to, leg out of it. So let's go ahead and close this, since we haven't really taught any hedging techniques quite yet. So let's go ahead and just go back to this and take our profits here. This was 1031, so in 2 days, making 28%, that's not bad at all. So let's go ahead and close this trade and take our profits. And very, very happy and grateful. Now, tomorrow we also have Apple earnings. Today after market, we already had Apple earnings. So let's take a look at Apple. Okay, we shot up nice and big today, but what we need to see is the aftermarket. So let's go ahead and load up our aftermarket. And you can see that even though Apple had very positive earnings, beat the earnings by 4.89%, which is really big, revenue by 1.7%, something in there investors didn't really like. You had that huge spike upwards, then it spiked down, then it consolidated, and now we're down even more in the aftermarket hours. So that's going to put a little bit of a drag on the market tomorrow. We are also heading into the weekend, so it'll be risk off for most institutional traders. So we're not going to expect a hugely up day tomorrow. We could get it, but that's not within our expectation. So I'd be careful tomorrow. I'd be cautious tomorrow entering into any new positions. Mostly on Friday, in the current market environment that we're in, we're going to be wanting to take profits on Fridays rather than open new position on Fridays, and then we'll open a new position on Monday. So if there's no bad news on the weekend, just like there was no particularly bad news on the weekend, the last 2 weekends, what we saw is the Monday rally. So if you do want to go into a position tomorrow, I would recommend do it at the end of the day when all the institutional traders are doing it and show their hand. If we're down big tomorrow, then it could be a decent bet to buy a small position in a call for the market. So we're not going to do any sector-specific trade today. I'm not going to do any trade today after market. What I would be looking for is tomorrow during the market, if we have a huge sell-off, I'd be comfortable buying a call. Or if we're flat and it feels like that we're going to go quiet into the weekend, I'd be careful. I'd be okay with doing a more careful, smaller size trade into a call over the weekend. So just counting on there not being any earth-shattering news over the weekend. And then, so obviously a defined risk, a limited risk type of trade in that scenario. And then we'll see from there. So overall, the trades that we picked are doing well. And the position, the Baidu Meta position, even though it looks like we're down initially, doesn't matter. We're not, this is just the first step, the first day in the trade. So we're just going to expect because remember, Meta and Baidu are in the tech and also communications. These are mostly tech sectors. Tech was one of the strongest, and we were counting at least our viewpoint was that tech is one of the stronger sectors at the moment that money is moving into, and we had hit a critical level. Let me just load that up on a daily chart. Well, I guess I can just do one day right here. I'm not sure if I have the same. No, I don't have the same setup. Let me load the appropriate chart. And if we look at XLK, so we popped up above that MA50 very strong. So the expectation is that we're still going to move higher in XLK. And so in which case you may say, why not just close out Baidu? Well, we're not going to expect this to continue like this, where it's super strongly upwards. Baidu is looking very weak still, is still hitting right at its resistance. So we'll hang on to that for another day or two. And so we're very comfortable with our Baidu Meta position right here. Gold is doing well and has plenty of space. So there, if it was just a call, I would be closing this out right now. But since it is a income style vertical trade and we still have quite a bit of room and only 2 weeks left, we're just going to keep on hanging on to this one. All right, guys, hopefully this cell phone format worked out for you. Tomorrow I will be traveling, so it would be unlikely that I can get you videos either for the morning or the afternoon. So I will be doing my best. Maybe I'll write some notes in a post when I can. When I'm not on airplanes, we'll see. I just don't know exactly how my travel is going to go yet. So don't count on receiving notes or videos tomorrow, and have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, have profitable trade sessions, and I will definitely be back on Monday with my desktop computer, so everything should be working perfectly, and we'll be back to our normal scheduling.